Hello everyone, my name is Daria and I'm going to talk about fine art photography. I'm sorry for my English, I can be a bit slow, so please be patient with me. I don't think it's right for me to give any pieces of advice on photography because it's really subjective, and while some advice can be useful to someone, it can also be harmful to someone else with their own unique vision. So I'm just going to share my experience and I'm just going to tell the way I do things. This may be the right way, this may be the wrong way. Just take whatever resonates with you from it and leave out all the rest. So my plan for today is I'm going to tell a little bit about myself and how I got into photography, and then how I got into fine art photography, and how I was searching for my style, and what I value in photography the most. Then I'm going to talk you through my whole photo shoot process from a single idea to the finished product, using one of my recent projects as an example. And then we'll briefly talk about equipment, lighting, and editing. And I'll also tell you what kind of clients are interested in this genre of photography. And in the end, I'll sum it up and name some tips. So this is my plan. And let's start. So I started with landscapes. I was a student, I enjoyed traveling, and obviously I just wanted to take pictures of my travels. So that was like the first thing that I was doing. Then I got education in philology, so then I proceeded to work as a teacher in Moscow. I'm from Russia. So I was teaching kids, and being a teacher, you still have a lot of time for your traveling and for your hobbies. So photography was becoming my hobby more and more. And I was also reading about photography as much as I could. I was reading about composition, about what's inside the camera, about exposure. I was also reading lots of critical works. I was also looking at other photographers' works, learning the classics, basically anything I could find on the internet. And then, so some more landscapes here. And then I noticed that the pictures that I liked the most were the pictures where there were actually some people in them. I thought that people kind of changed the things for me. I wanted more interactions. I wanted to have models. So I started to look into portrait photography more. So it's also worth noticing here that when I was taking some landscape pictures, I wanted to learn editing, and I started with Lightroom, just because Lightroom gave me that opportunity to bring the landscapes to perfection, at least in my mind. So yeah, I found out, I want to shoot people, so I started doing that. And working as a teacher, I had access to my students. So I asked their parents if I could take pictures of their kids, and I did. This is one of my students, and then these are the girls from my class as well. So once I felt confident with taking portraits like that, I was like, okay, but what is my style? I felt like this is not enough for me, and I started to search for my style, for something that could reflect my mind. And I was really into surrealism. I was really into fantasy stuff. And that's how my magical realism has started. This is a term often used in literature. It paints a realistic view of the world while also adding magical elements, often blurring the lines between fantasy and reality. And I felt like I wanted to do that, but in order to do something like this, I needed to learn Photoshop. So again, I spent hours and hours learning how to do the composites, how to add the elements, how to stitch the photos together to make something like this. Again, these are my students who, like, in my classroom. And then again, you can see that Photoshop is not the best here because I was just learning. Like, I don't know why I added rose petals to the kite, but I guess I was feeling it. And then this is my sister. Again, you can see that her hair isn't really the best, but those were the necessary mistakes I needed to make in order to learn editing. I was really proud of that one at the time because I felt that this represents what photography means to me. When you take something out of your mind, you put it on your camera matrix or on your canvas, and then it goes in the world and it lives on without you. Again, a bit too dark for that. Yeah, so I started to realize, okay, this is something I really want. This is something I really like. And I was thinking, it was getting harder to balance my work at school as a teacher and my job as a photographer after teaching hours. And then another thing I felt was missing is I was also really interested in dark photography. I was really interested in spooky stuff. And because I was also suffering from some nightmares, I felt like I took the nightmares and I took pictures of them, and then the nightmares would go away. So I also experimented with some dark, maybe uncomfortable to someone photography, but I feel like this was a necessary step for me. So all that, the dark photography, the fantasy, fairy tale photography, the surreal part, and then just the portraits and the landscapes, I feel like it all shaped what I'm doing now. Yeah, the key elements that I incorporate in my shoots right now that I feel are really important to me is, first of all, the background coming from the landscapes. I still love to see lots of background. Like, for example, here we were shooting in Lake District, and like, imagine if it was like just her face in the picture. It would be totally different. But I wanted to include the whole cave to show like the massiveness of it and like how fragile and tiny the person in that cave looks. Another example of the background, and again, some massive trees, abandoned houses, again, the forest. Another important thing for me, and in fine art photography in general, is storytelling. I feel like you have to tell a story. You can't just take a pretty picture. It's not enough. At least it's not enough for me. So your story can be about a person in a coma in a poppy field. And there's a lot of going on here, but I don't think I have time to explain. And it's a bit personal. But yeah, it was like, you can tell a story about that, or you can twist it around and you can have a dark Baroque story with three sisters and Caravaggio style photographs. And again, you can tell that story using low lights and candles and smoke machines. Or you can tell a cute little story about Krampus and, he's kidnapping a little girl. She seems too happy about it. Or you can try to attract attention to environmental problems and use the juxtaposition, again, between the beautiful costume, a fragile-looking girl, white symbolizing the color of innocence, and then the dark smoke and the gray skies and the nature that's looking dead. But when you are telling a story, there will be some people who won't understand your story. Because when I shared these photos online, someone messaged me, "Oh, it looks so beautiful, but couldn't you move your model at least a bit out so that there's no factory in the background?" I'm like, but that's the whole point. It should be that ugly background. That's the whole point of this thing. But it's okay if your viewers don't understand you. Just tell them what meaning you're conveying in your photo shoots. Tell a story. And then this is just a little cute story about a girl who wants to be an astronaut. Again, it can be cute with funny Photoshop, nothing serious. It's up to you if you want to tell something scary or something serious or something fun. Okay, the next part that I value in photography really a lot is symbolism. So many things can be symbols: colors, different objects, makeup, facial expressions, hand placements. Like, you can hide the whole codes in your pictures. This is the picture of Anubis, the Egyptian god, the way I interpreted it with my team. But you will see that he is holding like a crook that has a snake on one side, and then there's broomstick on the other side. Now, you may think, Anubis didn't have a broomstick. What's going on? So, okay, we know that Anubis is the god of the underworld who takes people down. And then in my culture, where I come from, right, Slavic culture, who does that in my culture? It's Baba Yaga, you know, the scary old lady flying on the broomstick, an evil witch. So I thought it will be fun to toy with the idea that in my universe that I'm creating with these pictures, maybe Anubis sits down for a tea with Baba Yaga and they have chat about gossip about what's going on in the underworld or anything like that. So he is holding the broomstick because this is an homage to something from my culture. And then when I'm taking pictures of Baba Yaga, she surely will be having something of Anubis's to build that bridge between them and make that connection and have that as a little symbol. The fun part about telling stories is that you can do whatever you want. Then here we can see that all the colors are muted and nude, and with the bright red colors, the weird makeup, and the substance in her syringe, I'm trying to use that as a symbol of, how do I say it? Well, this is a photo shoot about human being, the lab rats, that experiments in beauty industry and other industries are being carried out on humans, and just as lab rats, humans become the lab rats together. This is also a really weird angle because we had that really thick glass and I was underneath it, and we were just trying something new. Maybe it wasn't really necessary in this shoot, but it was fun to try and do something different. Right, this is probably one of my favorite shoots I ever did. This is the photo shoot of pagan Slavic goddess Mara or Marjana, or she has different names in different Slavic languages. She is a goddess of death, rebirth, and dreams. Here she is depicted against some old Christian Orthodox churches. And some people were really mad about it. Pagan goddess, Christian crosses, what's going on? But this is one of major themes I like to explore in my art, and I call it folk Christianity, just because I don't know how else to call it. When Christianity came to pagan people, many of the pagan ways had to be adapted into it. Like, for example, in Russia, we celebrate Christmas, but we also celebrate Svyatki, which is like fortune-telling, the night of the Christmas. Or we celebrate Easter, but we also celebrate Maslenitsa, where we burn a woman that not the real woman, that symbolizes the end of winter. So we kept both Christian traditions, but we also have pagan traditions still running through Christian ones. And in Scotland, it is the same. We have Beltane, Hogmanay, we have Samhain, and then you still have Christmas, you still have Easter, and people seem to be enjoying everything. So I really like the way paganism and Christianity collides, so I like to explore that. And that's what I'm doing here. And that's exactly why she is depicted against some Russian Orthodox churches. And yeah, her eyes are white because she is the goddess of death after all. Okay, next thing that I really appreciate in photography is color grading and light, and I just really love the colors. I love bright, neon, crazy colors. I also like painterly, muted style. I feel like if you want to do like painterly editing, you have the best chance of doing it with really low light pictures, like here, or even here. Then again, of course, learning color theory really helps, like using blues and golds, as in here. Again, some low light and some studio lighting. This is just natural light. If you are unsure how many colors to use, just use two, like black and gold here, and that's it. It will look okay. Yeah. Okay, then it's also really important to work with natural light. Like, I love natural light. I almost never bring any artificial lights if I'm shooting outside the studios. So this picture is taken like 2 minutes after this picture, and look how different the light is. Need to be really fast to catch it. Again, just trying to catch the best possible light and work with it. This is just me showing different type of colors that I really like, and I feel like it's important to highlight the flowers if you like the flowers, or like here I was highlighting the crown as well as the wings, so they are a bit more matching. I don't know, I'm really attentive to every color tone, every hue, everything what's going on in the picture. Okay, here is an example of, again, just highlighting one color, like the red in her makeup, the red on the rooster's head. And then, I don't think it's seen here properly, but I also saturated a little bit the rooster's feathers, so they're like slightly greenish, and they really correspond with the model's bracelets as well. I feel like when you look at the pictures, this is not the first thing you notice, but when you take care of all the details, it really puts your picture together and puts it out there. Okay. Another really important thing is finding your team and working with your team, because it's really hard to do big shoots that you dream of doing on your own. So collaborate with makeup artists, with hairstylists, find the models you like. Find the people who are just interested to be in the shoot and help you out. This is a shoot, I had 13 models there, and I had about 5 assistants. And honestly, if I didn't have all those people behind the scenes helping with the light, helping me to decorate the tables, put in all the vases, moving the tables, putting the fabric around the models' bodies, I mean, it would probably take me hours if I was there just on my own. So build your team. If you're interested in fine arts photography, you should probably find some clothes designers to work with. Like, I found mine just on Instagram. I was just messaging like, hey, here's my work. If you like it, would you like to send me some clothing items, some headpieces, and maybe we could create an idea together and I'll shoot it. Because if you want to do some complicated shoots, some storytelling, you have to think of clothes. And you have to find your team. You have to find the people that you will be able to collab with and create something like this. Okay. Again, a lot of team effort here. All these costumes were made my designer friend. Well, we first met because we wanted to collaborate, but obviously we became friends ever since. Because I can't sew, I can't create things like that. I'm here to take pictures, to think of ideas, of stories. I can't learn all that. Here we were building a little room in the forest, like we were hanging a chandelier on the tree. So I had a friend who brought the ladder. I had another friend who actually put it on the tree. And then we have 4 sewing machines. I'm so glad I wasn't alone in carrying the sewing machines into the forest. So yeah, build your team. Find someone who will help you. Again, 6 hours of body painting for the makeup artist. And then again, the work of the makeup artist, of the hairstylist, of the woman who brought her rooster to the shoot because she was like helping us to control the rooster so that it doesn't fall or do anything. And then the picture you see here, when we came, it's a little studio, and the studio only had the books that you see. Everything else, all this mess, we did it ourselves. Like the background that you see, this is actually a skirt hanging out there on the tree. Then we brought all the paintings, we brought all the fabric. We just built it from scratch in like 2 hours with my friends. So yeah, team is important. Somewhere there is my husband running around with some smoke. And then another important thing is location, of course. This is, again, Slavic goddess, but in Northumberland, a little crossover. And like, how cooler does it look to have a location like that rather than being locked within 4 walls of a studio? I always prefer a location to a studio. Okay. Right. Then I wanted to talk about the whole photo shoot process from an idea to a finished product. And I'm using my Cosmic Egypt project as an example. So first, the idea origin. Actually, how it came to my mind, first of all, I saw a pyramid in Scotland and I thought, oh, that's really cool. We got to do something like that with it. And then the second thing is that I believe that an artist cannot create things ignoring the reality that they live in. So their events, their culture, their roots will influence what they create. And so, yeah, okay, I'll come to that later. So, the idea was to pick 3 Egyptian gods. We picked Anubis, Isis, and Osiris. And the idea was that they are not just there hanging out with a pyramid in the background. They're here on Earth with a mission. I'll tell you about the mission in a second. So this is our Anubis. We didn't want to do any cosplay. By we, I mean me and my designer friend. We didn't want to do any cosplay, so we didn't want to do any dog's head or anything like that. We just wanted to interpret this god as like the way we see him and add our own thing, obviously. So we came with black and gold costumes for everyone. So this is our gorgeous Anubis. And then this is Osiris. Now, Osiris looks a bit weird, but that is because if you remember the mythology, his body was like torn to pieces by Seth and like put everywhere over the Nile and the Egypt. And his wife found him, put him back together, and resurrected him. So my question was like, what? Like this is a riddle. What can be put into separate parts and then be brought back together? And because we were basing this photo shoot, we were playing with the conspiracy theory that the pyramids were built by the aliens. I don't believe in that conspiracy theory, but it's just an example of what can inspire the idea. So I thought, okay, well, Osiris is probably a robot, because you can totally disassemble the robot and put him back together. So we tried our best with his costumes. You can see a little bit of wires and other things, but I don't think we quite succeeded, but we did our best. So, and this is his wife, Isis. This is her costume, her headpiece. So these two are in love. Now, when you're working with models at a project like this where you tell a story, you really need to become a director, and you really need to tell them what emotions you're trying to get from them, what poses you really need to direct them. If you are anxious about directing, just have some poses saved on your phone, or just try to explain the feeling, the emotion. Another thing that's really helping me during the shoots is music. I always put a separate playlist towards every shoot I have, and it's always a different playlist depending on the idea that we are doing. So I do believe that these two kind of had their own chemistry moment on set. Now, Anubis is with a gun, which is weird. Why does he need a gun? So, like I said, an artist, in my mind, cannot create ignoring the reality. His or hers, or like their work should depict the events that they are living in. And the world that I live in is my country invaded our neighbors and killed a lot of people and children. And I really felt like I needed to transform that pain that I felt, especially because there's nothing I could do. I needed to transform it into my art. So my pain was a certain dictator doing certain dictator things, which I really hated. So when we were thinking about this project, we thought, okay, why don't these gods come to punish one certain dictator? So that's what we did. But I also need to tell a story about the dictator. I was like, how do I show the viewers that this is a bad guy? Like, because if my models from previous pictures end up just randomly killing this guy, like, why do they do this? Who is this guy? So I was trying my best to paint this. This is actually a really sweet man. He's an actor. To paint him as a bad guy. So I found this brutalist looking water tower in Glasgow, and that was sort of his background. But then I came with the idea of this diptych. So I called this the dictator and his legacy. So in the first picture, you can see how he's, well, it's kind of obvious. I don't need to explain this. And then what's left after his deeds, what's left after what he is doing. And notice also how his tie changes from just a brown tie to the red one. As I said, symbolism. I like to add a little detail here and there just to add to what I was saying. Okay, so they come, Anubis comes to take the bad guy, the dictator, to the underworld, but because he thinks that he is so smart, he says, okay, I'll go with you, but let's play chess first, because he's so sure he will outsmart a god. He's so sure that he is like the smartest of them all, this dictator. So they start playing a game of chess. And obviously, our dictator loses, and the inevitable happens. Again, I'm having a black hearse in the background here because, well, Anubis used to travel on the black ferry. So, well, this is our black ferry, this vintage-looking hearse. And again, the chess pieces that are around him are colored in blood red right now to symbolize all the people that he murdered. And obviously, he met his demise. So, how I did this shoot. I told you about the idea, I told you about the story. Sourcing the models was kind of hard. I think I searched on Facebook, but like I found them all on Facebook. And then location scouting, I went to the pyramid beforehand just to see how the hike was it long, was it short, how much water did I need to bring for my team. And also like this, again, brutalist looking water towers in Glasgow, I also went there beforehand so that I knew exactly the angles that I'm going to take on the day. I knew where the hearse would be parked, and like I tried to think of everything. And then, so during the day of shoot, I of course bring snacks, I bring water, I bring music, I bring warm blankets because it's always cold. Okay, and then when editing, I don't think I did much here in terms of editing. I mean, the hearse had Dracula cab written on it because apparently there was a taxi. You can hire it as a taxi if you want to. So I just edited those letters out, and then that's it, some basic color correction. And that's how this story happened. This is the equipment I use. Canon R5 is relatively new, so the majority of pictures that you saw were taken with Canon 5D Mark III. Then my favorite lens that I use all the time is 35 millimeters, and my least favorite lens is 135, obviously, because I like the background. I use continuous video lights sometimes. Aperture is okay, but Rotalight really sucks. I don't recommend anyone buying it. And then I edit my pictures in Lightroom, Photoshop, and I edit my videos in Premiere Pro. Yeah. So who are the clients? Yeah. So the clients can be clothing brands. For example, this is our campaign with Killstar. Not this one though. This one. We shot this in Ireland. It's Giant's Causeway. You probably recognize it. And again, if you know this place, you know that there are lots of tourists there. So I edited all the people out. And that's why I say that this is really important that you learn editing, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to shoot in the location like that. So yeah, who are your clients? Your clients can be clothing brands, beauty brands, some brands that need unusual clothing campaigns. Okay. Then also, for example, your clients can be designers. This is a designer from London. She makes these like kinky knitwear dresses, and they're really expensive. I was really surprised about that. But they want unusual pictures as well. They want something that will stand out. This is my shoot for a little vintage store. They were selling vintage clothes, and so they also needed some pictures to stand out. And sometimes your clients can be even like some ordinary people who just want some unusual pictures of themselves, who want to be empowered by seeing themselves as witches or, I don't know, as some characters or anything what you can imagine. Okay, I can wrap up here, I think.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. Are there any questions or?
Just very quickly, if anyone's got just time for one or two questions.
Do clients usually approach you, or do you approach them for paid shoots?
The clients usually approach me. For example, when I moved to Scotland, I did message Killstar saying, hey, I think it will be really nice if we work together, and they never replied back. And several years later, they sent me a message, so they never even saw my message ever. So I feel like Instagram and TikTok also, that's like the two platforms that I'm using to promote my work.
Do you have any tips or tricks for being seen on social media such as Instagram?
I wish. I don't know. It was so much easier several years before that. And I feel like I gained my audience in that time period where people were interested in following each other. And I feel like right now it's really hard. I don't know. Because I tried the targeting ads as well, and they didn't work for me. So I'm thinking of hiring a professional to do that. I don't know. I feel like TikTok is better than Instagram because TikTok gives you a fair chance of going viral, while on Instagram, I don't remember the last time anyone I know went viral, myself included.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.